Hello everybody, this is Lilla in Hawaii. I'm just back from a trip to France where I took a workshop, and when I came back I looked at the comments in some of my previous videos, and one asked me if I would show her how to make the bird that was shown in the book. I used it sort of as a bookmark that sat in a little pocket, I think, in the book. It's so easy and so simple, I didn't think it worthy a video. But then I was thinking about it, and when I taught it to some friends of mine, they said, oh yes, you should make a video of it. So these are a couple of birds I'm making for Christmas ornaments. These are stuffed, and they're not the same sort of thing, but I just put them there because they were birds. They're birds. I came back on a 22-hour flight from Toulouse, France, and I must say I picked up a bit of a cold. Not too bad. Anyway, the way I start off doing these birds, which are there, I print off some graphics and I use clip art, and I just ask for black and white graphics or clip art of birds, and this is what I get. And I print one page the regular way and one page mirror image. So then if I do it on cardstock, which I usually do, I have one page like that, and then the other page is mirror imaged, and so it's easier for me to paint them like that, paint them separately so I can sort of match them, unless I don't want to match them. You don't have to. And then I cut around them and glue them back to back, and that's how I begin. Then after that, all I need to do is glaze them, and I glaze them with whatever crystal glaze or one of those things like that. I have tried Mod Podge. I don't care for that on them because it doesn't sort of set hard. It always remains a bit tacky, I find. So after they're dry and I've painted them, and I paint them with just an old paintbrush. I know people always want to see what you do, and so then I use for these, this one I just showed you, I use these four colors because I want it to look sort of Christmassy. And of course later on I can put some glitter or something on them. So here I got to this point where I've painted some birds, and I like to paint outside the line a little bit just in case I don't want, don't want the white edge showing. And then I put a white dot, and then I need to put a black dot as well. So that's what I painted. Both sides again. You see I've gone outside the line a bit. That's perfectly okay with me. When you cut it out, you will cut off that, so you won't see that. So let me show you what I would do. So for example, there's it's over the line, so when I cut it out, it's double, don't forget. I cut it like so. And sometimes I cut off the legs. A little friend of mine said, no, don't cut off the legs, I like those. But sometimes the legs are a little on the awkward side, but this, maybe I can kind of make a leg here. Sometimes I exaggerate the leg with the painting. Most times I cut them off, but this time I'm going to leave it on. So here we go. So that would be how I would start cutting. I'm not going to take time to cut it all, but I do turn it over, and if you notice, I didn't get it matching completely. Now I have two choices. I can cut that off, which is usually what I do to match, or I could paint that. Okay, so there you go. So I'm not going to take time to do all the rest of it. Then the only other thing is, as I said, I glaze them with some sort of a glaze. I happen to be out of the glaze at the moment, so I can't show you that, but you can use anything. I've even used nail polish, I've used glitter glue, all that kind of stuff. In fact, I think this one has some glitter glue on it. Don't quite like that as much because it does put a sort of a film on it, but it looks like feathers. The next thing is I decorate them, and my decoration's real simple and real basic and kind of funky. I like to put a piece of sea glass, or beach glass I call it, from Hawaii, and a piece of feather, and that's it. I like the beach glass. It gives them a little bit of weight if you're hanging them. You can hang them on a tree. But it's just my little personalization of them, you might say. So I do like to add a little beach glass. So what I do is I look for a piece, for example, if I'm going to do this one, I look for a piece of beach glass, and I've got green beach glass here, or I've got white. I tend to use white because that way, if I use the white beach glass, I can see through it. So let me put that on there. Only on one side, by the way. You could do both sides. I do one side, and it dries clear, so that's cool. So there, I've got that. Now I'll add a feather, and I've got kind of a little trick for the feathers in a way. This, of course, is far too big. I only need a piece of it. So I usually just curve it a little bit. Just curve it, and then just cut off a little piece. And because it's such a small item, I only need a tiny piece of feather. And I sort of spread it out a little bit, make it maybe a little more shape. And I push it under the beach glass, like that. Sometimes I put it on the tail, and sometimes I used a colored feather here. I didn't like that as well. This one needs a little more. And so what I would do for that is I would cut off I don't know whether I'm in camera or not. I'm doing this in a strange location, so it's not quite the same. Okay, so I'm just going to add to this one, which I didn't think had enough. Okay. So it's got a little bit of a curl. I don't know if you can see that curl there, see? A little bit of a curl. And I may go ahead and curl those feathers a bit. Now I've got a big one. Now I don't particularly like the big ones because they're big. And to me, the cuteness of these is because they're small. I think like about 3 inches max is just right. So when I print these off, I print my printer on 9 images to a sheet, like that, 9 images. And that gives me one that's about 3 inches. This one's too big. I did it this way though, so I could show you perhaps a little clearer how I go about decorating it. And I've got, as I said, I've got green beach glass. I've got a bigger piece of clear, which is what I'm going to use. So I'm going to do this. As I say, I don't know why I use beach glass, but I live near a beach in Hawaii, and it's just my thing. It's kind of a little signature, you might say. Okay, so there's the beach glass. Now it will dry clear, and of course on this one it needs a feather. So let me shape a feather. I always shape them. You just scrape the scissor along. This one's been cut off at the top. I'm not sure this is going to look any good. I kind of like it when they're fluffy. So, and this way you fluff them. Let's see if this looks any good. So there you are. That would be fine for me. I could make it a little more like that. And then when it dries, it's cute. And then all you do is you put a hanger on it for this size and put it on the Christmas tree or on the mantle or something. You could make a row of them and, you know, put 7 or 8 across and make a garland. But I like them just inserted in books. They're like a little bookmark. And I like to put them in little pockets in books, or I will make a little flap in the book and I'll put one under, so when you lift up the flap, It's a surprise. Okay, so I've got one more I haven't done. I better do that one before I forget. And I'll do a little... I'm just going to use clear, I think, on this one too. But this is just such a silly, simple little project. But I am doing it because someone asked me to. Don't know why, but hope you enjoy it anyway. So there, that's the beach glass on that. And find a little piece of feather. Let me see, maybe I'll take the top of this. These feathers, by the way, I did get in France. I bought a huge bag of them. So you'll be seeing feathers show up on everything, because I like feathers. Okay, so this one's going to have a little bit bigger. I'm going to give her a bigger feather.